Hola Madridistas, welcome back to another episode of Let's Be Real podcast. We could have been here with better circumstances. Unfortunately, we are not. Our first ever watch along, first proper watch along on the channel was a loss. So, like Dennis was actually saying earlier in the comments in the watch along, maybe it's not a good idea. Look what you guys made us do, man. You know, those guys on the pitch, if they actually could have seen the game out, it would have been such a good note for us to start, right before a big Champions League quarterfinal against Chelsea and whatnot. But unfortunately, at home against a very dogged Villarreal who just never went away, we suffer the first loss of the season at home. And like I was saying on the watch along earlier, the timing is so poor, man. It could have been some other time, probably before the Clasico, or maybe even Cadiz midweek. No, that would have been worse. No,
Nobody
no
was.
chance. Maybe after Chelsea, before the next Champions League fixture rolls in. Tonight wasn't ideal, man. Jacob, please welcome Jacob to the post match as well, man. Like he was with me suffering through the watch along. It wasn't exactly suffering, right? Like Jacob, like it was like we had some good moments in parts, but as a collective, like we were shocking at the back. Like tell me your brief feelings about the game and how do you sum up tonight's performance by the boys?
Yeah, well, first of all, it was a really nice watch along. Just watching the match with you and Dennis and Ashik and Daniel as well, who kept us company. So that was nice. The thing that was not nice was, of course, the loss. But like you said, it wasn't like a horrible match by Real Madrid standards of this second half of the season. It wasn't like a clueless performance, like you said, that we've been used to seeing just before the international break. We actually saw some good attacking moments. It was a fun game throughout to watch, especially as a neutral, because you never knew what was going to happen. And it's just unfortunate that this loss had to come at this time, this moment of period where we were actually looking on the upward trajectory and where we were thinking we could do no wrong. But that is not life as a Madridista. But to be a Madridista, you have to suffer. And I would just say this, like we didn't consider this as a final.
Yeah, that's what happened. That's what happened. That's what
Yeah,
happened. Carlo might have been telling the boys that the one on Wednesday is the final. This is this is your annual run out. Annual fair run. We used to have fair runs back in school. I don't know if you used to have fair runs in your school. Where you used to run mock marathons. Probably this was one of those cases, man. Like where our boys were like asked to go out and just express themselves. The lineup was also half-assed. Like we were actually questioning it, like how practical would a pivot of Chouameni and Ceballos be? We got to know that. Like yes, Ceballos had some bright moments here and there, but as a collective, they couldn't do what they were supposed to do. Provide like a screening for the back line and. Yeah, man. Nacho had some uncharacteristically poor performances, poor showings for large parts in the game. It wasn't anything like what we saw in the Clásico or what
mm,
we saw against Valladolid. It wasn't just up to it, and deservedly we got beaten. Like we can have absolutely no complaints, no refereeing decisions, no you know like kind of luck involved in Villarreal's performance. They were just here to, show us out, man, and they did. They succeeded 100%. Big up the chat. Big up all of you guys, man, who jumped right from the watch along to the post match. I guess you just wanna revel in this sadness along with us. But Dennis the greatest here. He says, "Big up everyone and the chat," and I'm angry. I'm angry as well, man. Like Ashik was trying his best. with his usual, Caesar quotes and stuff, but it wasn't working because it can't work when we are losing. It can't work when we are playing like dog shit. But that's what it is. Ashik is the comments. He says, "Chiki Chuku took out the Mickey out of us, man." Like, yeah, man. Honestly, like it was so nonchalant the way that he went about his business. Like the way he was moving, it wasn't like it was a big game or it was a game that meant something. He was moving like it was just a kickabout in the park with his mates on a weekday, when there are no games. But yeah, lol is in the chat. Nice to see you again, man. He says Vinny didn't deserve this loss. Rodrigo, Benzema, and Nacho let him down. I don't know, man. Um, I don't know if I can exactly blame those guys apart from Nacho. Yeah, Rodrigo and Benzema. Really, Rodrigo has been anonymous. I know. I get the gist, but
No, he wasn't just anonymous. Like he did ruin a couple of really good moments when he should have done something different.
mm, yeah,
Kind of
I
get the
remember.
Rodrigo thing, but Benz was just, yeah, he was just totally anonymous.
Mm, it's just so hard to call people out, especially after last week's high. I don't think I can do that, but I'll try as much as I can be objective and practical in this post match. Arctic says rather cheeky Chuku took out the Mickey out of the Madrid geeky. Anyway, he says we lost to a brilliant performance by Chukwueze. Lola Lol says Kamavinga unfortunately has to play left back rest of the season. Chukwueze looked like Ronaldinho against Nacho today. Yeah, man, I don't know. Usually Nacho makes the most uh, impressive of players look very very mediocre, like we saw against Salah, how he did it twice in the space of what, like 3 weeks. It was mad, but I don't know, man. Like probably we didn't give Villarreal the respect they deserve. Is that a fair assessment, Jacob?
Heck yeah, man. Especially with the lineup and what we saw in the first half, they had so many more opportunities, right? The opportunities that they had, like, didn't even compare. So to put it into perspective, they had around 10 shots. Well, we had five. They had five on target.
Yeah,
We had two on target. So it was very lopsided. And Carlo just had to make these changes. He just had to give the all of the starters a bit of rest.
yeah.
And what turned out was that Asensio was our biggest performer, especially in the first 60 minutes. And afterwards, when he took Benz off, like everyone became anonymous except for Vini.
Let's talk about the first goal since we are on Asensio. Um, Mini does all the hard work, right? Like he gets down the left, puts in the cross. Asensio hits the shot, but it bounces off Pau Torres. But Asensio has been bright even before the goal, right?
Yeah. He wasn't as bright as when we saw him against Valladolid, understandably
Hmm.
so, because
There was
Asensio
so
had
much more space.
so much more
Mm,
space to work with. And this match, it was not so. Villarreal actually pressed us very well. They also got out of the press well. So Asensio couldn't really press along with the front three. And then I feel like it was specific instructions as well, right? Like don't press too much, like don't wear yourself out. Just get a couple of goals and then sit back, which was exactly what
mm,
we did.
mm.
And just leading up to that first goal, we were just sitting back and then hoping we get a chance. And we did get a chance, man. And you said, like, while we were watching the stream, that it was a kind of a godsend goal, with it going in with Pau Torres just, tucking it in at the last.
Basically, yeah, like deflecting the ball into the net.
But winners, they make their own luck. I feel like Asensio, he was vindicated with that piece of play because he was doing pretty well compared to the rest of the attackers, at least.
Do you think that he was the best player out of the bunch? For me, he was the pick of the bunch in the first half, Sensio.
Yeah,
He,
for
wa-
the
he was
first
really
60
giving it his all.
minutes,
Yeah.
yeah, even the starting of the second half, he was pretty good. He was spraying in balls to Rodrigo and Vinny, just connecting the dots, man. And then it's just a shame that we had to, resort to the old tactics where we just sit back, allow the opposition to come back into the game. And why that has kind of worked out for us previously was like with luck. We had like
Mm,
immense luck in the form of Courtois or a last-ditch clearance. But in this game, it just didn't happen. Villarreal just created too many opportunities, and then finally, luck just ran out.
mm, yeah. The first goal was exactly what the doctor ordered, man. Like, so that we get a cushion, we get a little more leeway for us to express ourselves and just let a little bit of the shackles off. But it backfired very quick, very quick. Now that I go back, it's been such a long time. I can't even recall how Villarreal scored the first goal. Yeah, now I remember. Oh yes, Nacho was sent to the shop. Sent to the shops. You know, he was sent for a couple of kebabs. Unfortunately, uh, I've never seen Nacho get beaten so bad. Like never ever. Like I've never seen that happen, man. Like just a drop of the shoulder, and like yes, Chouameni was around. He should have probably done better. Probably have could have gotten a little more closer to him. But Nacho completely loses the plot. Like I've seen Chukwueze do it to the best of the best, you know, in the Champions League and also in La Liga as well. Like he's not your easy customer to actually defend. But even then, a man of Nacho's caliber, like how does he just completely get outclassed by just one piece of skill, you know?
To be fair, it was a really good piece of skill, something we've used to seeing Vinny do and then turn out defenders. But yeah, at that point, Chukwueze was right there alone. The offside trap wasn't really working. The back line was in a disarray, and then it was up to
Mm,
Nacho to, he was stuck in the center back position, not sure who to mark. He was overrun. But it's not all excuses, right? He did get beaten thoroughly, and he just that, and like I hoped he would bounce back from that and then put in a more aggressive and center back like performance. But turns out it was just downhill from there. He just had more and more timid challenges. He wasn't really marking his man tightly enough, like we usually see him do. And yeah, Chukwueze took us out for the night.
I think see, no matter what level of football you're playing, unless you're like one of the absolute greats, like you know your Ramoses, if you get beaten that comprehensively on one piece of play, the next time you see him running at you, you're scared shitless. You know, like
Yeah.
you're just hoping and praying that he has a cramp and he has to go off because like how you basically broke it down, it makes perfect sense. After that, Nacho, whenever he saw the side of Chukwueze, he's like, "Oh my god, I'm out. I'm just done because I can't deal with him." Because he
Yeah.
knew for a fact that he bet him so well that there is no coming back from it, and it was evident, man. It was evident in Nacho's performance. It put a doubt in his mind that I've never seen Nacho go through for phases in games like this, man. Like he's so much the composure, Mr. Composure. You know, Nacho. He's the guy who basically shows the people around him how to be composed. But tonight, it was just the complete opposite. But let's just get into some of the comments. Um, right. Ashik says Nacho is human and let's give him a break. Absolutely, like that's why like I'm not going in on him like I would go in on Rudiger even when he has like even better games, you know, like that's the partiality that sometimes unfortunately that I pack. It comes with the package, you know, like Rudiger, it's his first year at the club. Nacho, he's my homie, man. Ashik says he's allowed to have an off day. Yeah, absolutely. He's allowed to have an off day, and I'm glad that it happened against Villarreal in La Liga, which is like we have completely thrown in the towel on. Saliba is back. Nice to see you again, man. He says, so this is what it is like to play against Vinny. Perspective from other teams like we saw against Chukwueze. That is a very good point that he's making. You know, this is how it feels. It is okay to sometimes be, you know, on the receiving end of it, I guess, especially in a game that doesn't matter for the season as a whole. But still, man, still it hurts. It hurts. First loss at the Bernabeu still hurts. A loss in the lead up to, you know, such a big period in the season is also a painful bite to take. Farooq is in the chat. He says, "Guys, let's not forget we barely bet these guys in the Copa and lost in the reverse fixture. We rested about half of the team, so it's not too bleak, people." Yeah, I absolutely get it. Like we are winless. I think for the fourth game in a row against Villarreal, they are definitely turning out to be, our kryptonite at this point. Villarreal, like, yeah, I have massive respect. Like they are not your Elche or your like Huesca or someone like that. Like Villarreal is a proper club. So it is no surprise that they have been giving us headaches for quite a bit. But I just hope, man, I just hope Carlo and the boys, especially considering the fact that the league is gone, they could have probably done something out of the box, and they did something out of the box, but it wasn't exactly what the game needed. I feel like a pivot of Chouameni and Ceballos was never bound to work. It was basically trusting Chouameni with all the defensive duties and expecting Ceballos to, hold his own, which he did for large parts, but he can only do so much, man. He can only do so much, in my opinion. Yeah, like we didn't show them enough respect. We didn't basically turn up the way the game required us to. Just we were just off the boil. Like we come across performances like this from time to time from Carlo. It's his league curse following him again. Unfortunately. Lola Lol says, "Man, if Vinny had this Rodrigo performance, you would rip him. You need to stop protecting him over bias. He played a Sancho type game." Well, I got to agree, man. Lola Lol. I got to actually have my hands up and tell you that Rodrigo, yes, for the past couple of games, like in the Clasico, like I was here telling people that he was a bit anonymous, but he was actually making a lot of space for other runners. But tonight, yeah, like he was not even doing that. The only time I actually saw him do something was the time that he actually had tried to get the ball onto his left foot and try a shot, which didn't come off. And in the second half, when Vinicius basically puts it on a plate for Rodrigo, he was tightly marked by I think um, Mandi and Pau Torres, but he still managed to scuff a shot, which was half-assed anyway. It wasn't that great. But Rodrigo, yeah, man, I'll tell you for the fact that I expect so much more from him. It's just the fact that I can't call him out is because, like you said, there is a clear bias with him in terms of me. But Jacob, can you give us a more objective reflection of Rodrigo? And is it concerning, or does the big game player in Rodrigo turn up once the Champions League anthem plays in like 72 hours?
Of course, man. Like this is not concerning to me at all. Like we know what
Mm,
Rodrigo can do. He doesn't even need to be benched or anything. Maybe we were thinking about that during this stream, but then this guy, he will turn up for the big games no matter what. So I'm not really worried. But let's just like break down Rodrigo's performance in two phases, right? Until
mm,
Benzema was taken off, and then
yeah.
before and after that. So until Benzema was taken off, he was playing as a right winger. He tried to be an outlet instead of being, the facilitator in play, like we saw in the Clasico. So right now in this match, Asensio was playing that role. So it wasn't really Rodrigo's, preferred position, let's say. That's why he found it a bit more harder than the Clasico to appear less
Mm,
anonymous. So I feel like it was a fair performance, but even when he was getting into that right half space and then getting into the box, he made a couple of bad decisions, which we are unaccustomed to seeing Rodrigo make. And that was the thing that was actually disappointing to me. It wasn't the fact that he was anonymous, which was understandable because he was playing in a different role in a different system.
mm.
And then post Benzema's taking off, and it's not really Rodrigo's forte. It was just I felt like he had a good enough performance, like just considering that the players around him and the system around him, it's not really set up to maximize his talents.
Rodrigo with Benzema is a completely different player
Yeah,
opposed to when he's without Benzema. Like it's so much more natural. But I totally understand the point. Like we have come on here time and time again and praise Rodrigo for doing the instinctive things right, where he does the things that we would do in a similar position, you know. But yeah, like he have been getting some bits of that stuff off these past few weeks, but I'm pretty sure he'll bounce back, man, because lol, the Sancho type game stuff, man. Please keep it out, man. Sancho, really? Sancho, 007 Sancho. I'll tell you, Rodrigo is not that bad. You're just being harsh at this point. But yeah, man. Ricardo in the comments, he says it's performances like these that makes me have no faith in Ancelotti. Ricardo, you need to put this into perspective. Yes, the league form has been pretty dire. We get that. We have been so pissed off again, like in accordance to how we have expected this season to pan out in the early couple of months, where we thought we would be flying. But what happened post World Cup and the gradual decline? Like we were here slating Carlo, like you were just mentioning, man. Like we had lost complete faith. But what we saw in the Clasico, what we saw against Liverpool in the Champions League, I think it made me reinstill my faith. Like, yes, I know that he is not a brilliant league manager. I always knew that for him to actually sustain league form, it will need a lot of factors to go his way, whether it be injuries, whether it be um, managing fatigue, whether it be form of his direct competitors. It all needs to work in tandem for Carlo to be an okayish or a good league manager. Without that help, Carlo is pretty damn ordinary, and we don't need this season to show us that, Jacob, does it?
Totally agree with you, Sunil, on this. But the thing is that some fans they have the expectation that we absolutely do need to like dominate the league a bit more, considering that
Mm.
man for man, player for player, we have a way better team than Barcelona at the moment. And it's just a shame that we are just throwing away these La Liga titles year after year just because Carlo is not like a manager who does well in the league. Like that's just not acceptable to these players. And I understand where they're coming from, but in a Champions League or in a cup run, like there's no other manager that we can have better than Carlo, man.
See, it pains me as much as it pains Ricardo, and it pains any other fan, man. The stat says that we have only won 5 league titles in the last 15 years, and that's just atrocious league form for a club the size of ours, a club that has won like 35 La Ligas. It's just plain unacceptable to actually have won only 5 in the last 15. But for it to happen, we have to shy away from what we are as a club. We have to understand that Real Madrid is not your average club that relies on system, tactics, a set succession plan, a set style of play. Nothing like that. Like we don't operate like Liverpool. We don't operate like even Bayern, you could say. We don't operate like any of those guys, unfortunately. And I'll tell you that slight sort of personality, or in your case, in the context of this La Liga season and the many La Liga seasons, a sort of weakness has enabled us to be so great in Europe. So I think it is a proper trade-off, in my humble opinion. I hate it. I hate it just as much as you, Ricardo, because I've grown up with Barcelona mates and Atletico fans and all of that, and even Premier League fans taking the mick out of us because we can't dominate our own patch, and
Yep.
that's a real stain on our legacy. Yes, in Spain, in the domestic competition, we haven't really stood up to our
But
challenge. Go on, go on,
Sunil,
Jacob.
like I hear you, right?
Yeah.
You're trying to make the point that maybe just winning the Champions League in 3 seasons, maybe once, is better than winning the league even once or twice in the in La Liga. But the thing is that this team right now is going through a transition, right? We are
Yeah.
going to be slowly phasing out these players, and
Mm,
people are kind of doubting his ability to take the team forward without a proper system to, help
mm.
these youngsters grow. I think that's the main doubt that even Farouk and me were discussing about the same. He was like, we need a system to enable these youngsters to hit their potential, man. Otherwise, we're still going to see them clueless because Chaumini and Ceballos, Valverde, all of these guys, they're not cut out to, do this week in, week out, and put their clear head in, control games, and just see things out. We're just not there yet with these youngsters. So they do need a proper system to help them out. And Carlo is not the guy to do that. But especially if we are about to face off Cruz, Toni, Modric, and Benzema in the next season or two, Carlo is not the man to lead these youngsters. That's the general consensus. I do see like both sides of the coin, right? In one thing, you just don't have a good enough Champions League manager to manage the team because nobody good is available. You shouldn't get rid of Carlo. But in the other sense, if you bring in someone like Poch, he could instill a system where youngsters can thrive and actually transition out
But I'll tell you
of the
for a
team.
fact, Jacob, like, yes, I completely understand your point, and I actually genuinely fear the fact that, yes, our youngsters wouldn't be much more seasoned like we want them to be unless there's a system in place to aid the development. I completely share the sentiment, yeah, like I completely understand that. But don't you think winning Champions Leagues and going through adversity and coming out as successes on the other side of it would also make them grow and me be better players? It does, right? Like, don't you
I,
think Kamavinga is a better player compared to last year?
of course, man, of course. In certain aspects, yes, but he's still not like totally ready to take the mantle week in, week out, right? And
Let me ask you something. Who in the fucking world is ready to take the mantle from Luka Modric and Tony Cruz?
nobody. There are a few players, but no, none of them are in our club right
Nobody, bro. So the only thing I'm going to tell you is this, okay? Let's say Posh comes in next year, okay? Let's say someone like, I don't
now.
know,
No, that's
Nagelsmann.
that's
Uh,
kind of the point, man. Like nobody can replace this Mortis. Nobody can like come into this
no,
current
no, no.
Real Madrid system and perform as good. But
I'm not talking about.
if we provide Kamavinga with a system to try to maximize his strengths, he's gonna grow like that. His transfer value is gonna go up the roof. He's gonna be undroppable. Uh, but if
If
we
you
do
actually
keep
look
this,
back, these guys, you have fickle memory, man. Like if you look back at all the great managers that these guys played under, Mourinho, yes, he had a system, but can you call that system as rigid as a Klopp system, as a Guardiola system?
no, no,
No.
I'm not asking for that. It's just that Carlo has very simple tactics compared to any other coach, man. Compared, you take any other coach, he doesn't have like a style of play, and that is a strength as well as a weakness for us. The strength is that nobody can predict us and nobody can like plan to face us. That is why we have faced so many.
I'm telling you, if we get a system coach, a systems oriented coach, we are going to be getting knocked out of Champions League
That is
campaigns
true.
because of that system. And
Yeah, I'm
it'll be
not.
much more heartbreaking than a loss to Villarreal on a Saturday night. I'll tell you for a fact.
I can't argue with that, man. It's just that I'm just
So
putting in the facts.
all these football purists, you gotta better be prepared for those kind of things, man. Like I wouldn't be, because I'll be fucking livid. I'll tell you that for a fact. If Pochettino comes in, yes, implements a style of play, high octane, high pressing, like not be so conservative, don't like let give up so much possession and whatnot. I would appreciate all that. Like, it looks so glossy on the eye, but we would still concede the same amount of goals, show even less backbone than this Carlos side.
I'll tell you what, if Poch comes in and implements that successfully, we are sure to win the league, but I'm not sure we go far in the Champions League. We might even get knocked out
That's
in the
it. That's
quarters.
it. That's
Yeah.
it. For me personally, I would rather win the Champions League than the La Liga. What about you, Jacob? How do
I
you
have the
feel?
sa- I have the same answer. The only thing that is niggling on the back of my mind is the point that I said. It's just that I'm worried about the youngsters and the phasing out of these old people, in the club.
Carlo made a young Kaka go from nobody, I repeat, nobody,
So you don't
to a
have to
Ballon d'Or
like
winner.
take the example of Kaka. You just take Vinicius. Look what he made of Vinicius.
So, so,
Yeah.
so
Some
the proof is in the pudding. We have to accept that certain stuff that he doesn't make sense. It doesn't
yeah
make sense to me. Doesn't make sense to the most um, hardcore Carlo supporters. I'm not a hardcore Carlo supporter. I just want the best for my club, right? I've always like people. I remember when Ramos actually had the contract standoff with the board. I was with the board,
yeah
and my friends who were Barcelona mates were telling me, "Oh, Sunet, he's diplomatic. He doesn't give a fuck about Ramos. Ramos gave me the greatest moment of my life, man. He gave me 92-48. But for me, I thought Ramos should accept a 1 year contract renewal program and just be okay with it because that's
yeah
what the club wants. He should respect it. I'm just speaking from the very same perspective. I'm not a Carlo sucker. I love the man, right? But I think this is what is best for the club. It might not
yeah
end well for him. Like if he doesn't win the Champions League, he might still get the sack. It is not in my hands, not in yours. No, it is in Perez and the board's hands. But in my humble opinion, there won't be coaches like Carlo that we can replace him with. Maybe Zidane, yeah. But even with Zidane, it's back to cross and inshallah.
yeah
But what does it come with? Champions League pedigree, composure in big games when the whole world is watching. You don't have second thoughts. You just go about your game plan like it's your ordinary everyday thing. But he'll have slumps like this in La Liga. He got knocked out in the out of the Copa del Rey to a
yeah
fifth tier team in a
yeah
stadium that had a bigger parking lot than seats for people to sit and watch. That's the thing, bro.
yeah I
So
totally agree with you, man. Like for sure, Carlo is like the best manager to take us forward in the next couple of seasons. I'm just saying it. Carlo might not be the best coach to maybe take Choumeny or someone like Ceballos to be like one of the best midfielders in the world. Vinny and Kamavinga, I have no doubt, man. Like these guys have already proven it. These guys will be the best players. But
Chouameni,
people,
Chouameni,
people, people like Choumeny and Ceballos, they need a system around them to work. I'm just saying that you won't see the
I'll
best out
tell
of
you,
them.
I'll tell you, I'll tell you, I'll tell you for a fact, bro. All these system players, yeah,
Yeah,
all these system players. Kevin De Bruyne, system player,
yeah,
right? System player. For me, the reason why I don't respect him like the same way I respect other guys like maybe Schweinsteiger who didn't have so much flair is because he wasn't the system player.
yeah.
He just bossed every inch of the pitch that he was put on. Like he doesn't need Guardiola to spoon feed him the perfect role for him to work. So if you expect Chouameni to be given a system, Danny fucking Ceballos to be given a system, bro, you're out of your mind. If you're expecting people to excel only under systems, what does that tell you? It tells you the
That
player's
they're,
not good enough.
yeah, they're actually not.
So so what is the
But
point? The
the
bottom
reality
line.
is, yeah, I mean, we're not bringing in any more midfielders, that's for sure, unless we go bring in Jude Bellingham. Uh, the fact is, we have
Even
to stick with the players that we have.
I don't know, bro, Jacob. Like I'll be honest, man. All these football purists, yeah, I get your point. I get that we don't have like a very specific style of play or whatnot. But I see patterns of play that are being repeated week in, week out, which sometimes drives me nuts, sometimes makes me happy, sometimes makes me uh, uh, like feel passion that I haven't felt for this team in a long time. Yes, we
Mm.
sometimes look clueless and whatnot, but for me, the overall package is satisfactory. I know the
Yeah,
league is gone. I know the league is gone. I was here 4 months ago being livid. I'm not so livid here because I'm resigned to the fact that we have given up the league. But I still remember you weren't here for the Classico post match, right? On Wednesday. I slept for 1 hour right? After the preview with Samuel Marsden and whatnot, and the whole stuff that I had to do. Like I slept for just 1 hour, so I had no energy to even celebrate. But I remember how I felt.
Mm,
I came on here and I told the people after La Decima, after the semi final against Manchester City last year, that was the most happiest I've felt in my life as a Madridista.
yeah,
So look what Carlo has been doing.
true, right?
Yes, tonight's performance is shit, man. But I'm telling you, there is a flip side to Carlo that we'll
It's
sorely
it's
miss once he's
so
gone.
it's not just a flip side. It's just that there are certain things that I nitpick that Carlo
Yeah.
is not doing perfectly, but Carlo is the man to like take our club forward, especially for this season and the next. We are gonna like maybe win some kind of silverware with him, I'm pretty sure, but not with
Mm.
Pochettino. I'm not sure at all. At this point,
All,
I'm just
all
nitpicking,
that I
but
need.
yeah,
Yeah.
at this point,
Jacob,
yeah,
my
man.
my humble request to you is fuck the future, bro. The future guys, the future hypers are all out in the Premier League. Oh, I want to see where my club is in the next 5 years. Oh, I want to see a progressive development plan. Fuck that, man. Live in the now. Why did we win the Champions League and the league double? The only second manager to ever do it in the club's history was Carlo. Why did it happen? Because he was living in the now. The club was living in the now.
No, but he was okay. To this point, yeah, of course you have to live in the now. But he completely disregarded the youngsters. Had a set 11 which clicked. That was working for that season. But why he was able to do that is because Mourinho laid the
I'll tell
foundation,
you.
man. He laid the foundation of the team. He looked long term and he developed the right players.
Mourinho laid the foundation of the team. Yes, but Mourinho laid the foundation in what? 2012, 2011, 2013, right?
Yeah,
So after that, Carlo had a tenure which didn't go very well.
yeah,
In the first season, yes, it was similar to this. La Liga was out of reach. Um, in the second season, we started off great. Then we fell off around the January, February mark, and then we never really couldn't come back.
yeah.
But what happened? That foundation was reworked for the now by Zidane, by Carlo, all those guys who came in and tried to promote people. Like how much did they last? I'm telling you, our business model isn't sustainable for the growth, the future aspect, man. Like we don't work like that. I myself as a fan don't expect my club to move like that. I don't know. This conversation is never going to end. This debate of future. Should we prioritize the future? Should we prioritize now? For me, it's now. I totally understand and respect the people who want to prioritize the future. But for me, our club unfortunately doesn't operate like the future hype merchants down in the south of England. But that's what it is. Dennis the Great says, guys, who do you guys think was the worst player on the pitch? For me, it was Chouameni. Yeah, like we were talking about that, right, Jacob? Like he wasn't exactly the worst player. It was the fact that he was so anonymous for a CDM who should be primed in breaking up play and actually being the facilitator for ball progression further up the pitch. Like he couldn't make much impact. Is it solely because it was a double pivot in action tonight? Or was it just the fact that sometimes I feel like Chouameni, yes, he has his strengths. He's still young. He's still learning. He's learning on the job in the biggest club in the world, replacing perhaps the greatest CDM since the CDM himself, Claudio Makalele. So it's a big, tall order for him, who is just like what, 21, 22?
So I feel like it's 24. But yeah, people
He's
think
24?
yeah,
He's not
people think
24.
what?
He's
Come
not
on, man.
24. Chouameni is not 24, bro. Jacob, what have you been smoking? Send some over. I'll smoke it
I,
after Ramadan.
how do you spell Choumeni? Oh
C
man,
H
I
O U
always,
A M E N I.
always get it wrong.
This guy, man, this guy. You need to
Oh, he's
retire, bro.
23. He's 23.
Is 23? Okay, fair
Yeah.
enough. Fair enough. Right.
So,
Still
anyways,
relatively young.
yeah, yeah. The thing is that he has been thrust into the CDM position at Real, right? But in France, he plays in a double pivot. So I thought
Mm.
he would be super comfortable with here as he is in France, but it turns out it's not because France he has an even more defensive midfielder covering him. Even,
The international game is completely different to the
yeah,
domestic game, right, Jacob? Like the intensity is less, the pace at which it flows is different, right? Like it's not you can't really compare it with a La Liga game, can you?
that's true. Even in Monaco, he was in a double pivot, so he's
I
absolutely
didn't know
used to.
that.
Yeah, yeah, he's used to a double pivot, but
Mhm.
it's just that he is used to playing with a more defensive double pivot guy. So
Oh, so where
yeah,
he's basically a de facto box to box,
pretty much, yeah.
masked, like masked as a defensive midfielder, kind of,
Yeah,
right?
and this CDM position is new to him, and seems like he was learning it pretty well until the World Cup. But
Mhm.
then, yeah, his lack of fitness, sees him in the form that he is in right now. So I feel like he's a quick learner. I'm not too worried about him. I feel
Yeah.
like he can play both positions, even in the double pivot as well as in the CDM position. Uh, but yeah, today he was pretty much anonymous because he wasn't able to connect the dots with the defense. He wasn't even able
Lucas,
to provide good cover for the defense, man. Like we were like caught out so much, even though he was in that position, he just couldn't mark the man really well, as
mm,
Casemiro used to do, which is the tall ask.
mm. Lucas Vasquez in the post match, he was saying we struggled to keep possession and control. We did
Yeah,
not play well. The reason why we struggled to keep possession and control was, I'll tell you for a fact, it was the midfield. People expected the Valladolid kind of control and dominance in the middle of the pitch. We couldn't do it. You were telling me in the watch along before I think we started that they were missing a few key midfielders. Villarreal, they were missing Coquelin and who was the other guy?
Etienne Capoue, really good,
Etienne
solid
Capoue.
defensive midfielders. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but they still had the upper hand. So maybe Carlos should have gone back to a midfield three, right?
That, yeah, of course, man. Like
Did
in
we
the
go to a midfield three in the second half when the subs came on?
Valverde, Tchouaméni, who else was it? Ceballos
I
was
think
also
they
taken
did. You
off.
know,
No, man, because Asensio was still. Oh yeah, that's true. We did.
we did
Didn't
go to
really
a midfield three. Yeah.
didn't really help us though, right?
Mm. By that time, the game was
I mean,
tilted.
nobody could have like seen it coming. Like we didn't know they were gonna really struggle playing out of their press, man. We didn't know we were gonna
Mm.
sit back so much, pin back even, because we were always expecting Asensio to drop deep and then connect the midfield and then cause an overload so that we can actually play out from the back. But just didn't happen because Villarreal pressed so well.
Fact. The press was on point, but like sometimes, like the way they swarmed our players, like I couldn't believe my eyes. I just had to like blink and recheck the surroundings to see if it was yellow instead of white, where we had the
Yeah,
Madrigal, like Ceramica, but that's what it is. Ashik says the loss is a wake up call for Wednesday. Absolutely, absolutely. This should send sirens, alarms, you name it, across the dressing room. This should send a mini emergency meeting from the two eyebrows of Carlo. The third eyebrow that is Davide Ancelotti and everyone involved. Like there should be a point where we kind of look onto the mirrors and really look at what we have been doing. Yes, Clasico was a high. Yes, Valladolid was a high. Yes, Benzema's back-to-back hat-tricks was a high. Yes, free-flowing football was a high. But tonight, let's not get it twisted, is a low. It might not be the lowest of the lows. It might not be, the thrashing we suffered in the Supercopa final or something like that. But still, it is a low point in this season. It is the great says Sancho. That is too harsh, man. Yeah, Ricardo was going off on Rodrigo, bro. You need to cut him some slack. If it wasn't for Rodrigo, we would have been sitting here with a very different perspective, considering last season. That is the great. Also says people are not realizing we have similar points tally than we had this time last year. I still have faith. Yeah, I absolutely do, man. At least in the Champions League, I still have faith that this team can turn it around. They have shown it time and time again. I'm just gonna go by that. The proof is in the pudding, bro. That's all that I'm gonna say. Ashik says it's convenient to blame Carlo, but everyone forgets that Carlo doesn't have the squad depth needed to win a league. For cup tournaments, you don't need a deep squad the same way as the league. I don't know. Jacob, do you think that it's down to squad depth with Carlo?
Well, not really sure, man. Like,
Mm.
because okay,
Yes, he might need
we do have,
fullbacks.
yeah, fullbacks is like the only concern I would say. We don't need a backup striker because Benzema is pretty much going to be playing every single game if he can walk.
The backup
Uh,
striker is basically just a piece of wood.
yeah,
That's it. Mm.
maybe a right winger as well. A right back and a right winger would have, helped this campaign a bit, but I'm not sure how
Mm.
much.
Yeah, big up all of you in the chat, man. Like, if you guys are new, don't forget to smash the like and also subscribe to the channel. We are on the road to 1K, so yeah, it would be immensely appreciated. Like, if you guys showed some love to the channel. But Dennis the Great says, get football pundits, get football purists out of my club. We are Real Madrid. We are not fucking Brighton. Facts. Like, I would completely agree with the sentiment. It is sort of an emotional take on the club, not a very rational one. I would always go with the emotional side of stuff. Like, I'm a heart over the brain guy. I've said that so many times. Jacob is kind of in the middle. Farouk is extremely brain. That's why he's pursuing a PhD, and I'm just a graduate in commerce. There's a difference. The big brain people will always say big brain stuff, which we can't really sometimes wrap our head around. But it is just two sides of the coin. They just have the same love we have for the game, for the club, all of that, man. It's football. We'll always have stuff that we differ on. Right. Ashik says, I say we keep Carlo until we have Raul or Xabi Alonso ready. Let's not get stuck in that revolving door again. Yeah. Yeah. I need stability, man. What we thrive on as a club, Real Madrid, it thrives on stability, it thrives on familiar faces, it thrives on harmony. The moment that is broken, you saw like Rafa Benitez, people laugh at his overall demeanor, his glasses, his stocky body type. Stocky body type. Rafa Benitez is one of the best coaches to coach ever. That man has so much ball knowledge that if you actually listen to him for a couple of minutes in any random interview, you would notice that he doesn't get the respect that he deserves. Rafa Benitez is one of the most astute tacticians that modern football has seen. But he can't control a dressing room the size of Real Madrid. Like, he wouldn't be able to, um, let's just say, play with the intangibles. He can play with all the tangibles, the stuff that he can move around and touch. He'll be able to do magic with that. But the intangibles, the stuff that you can't really quantify, he just doesn't have the minerals to do it. So I'm just telling you, man, like, we need people like Carlo. We need people woven in the cloth that the club is actually made in to actually excel. Like, we can't have really good tacticians and expect them to handle every aspect that this club needs the like a head coach to handle. Dennis the Great says Mo Salah system player. Facts, facts. Mo Salah, is a very great finisher and whatnot, but a lot of those players in the Liverpool and City teams, let's just wait for them to move out of their clubs and look what happens to them. Where is Gini Wijnaldum? Yes, he has had his injury issues. Yes, he was a phenomenal box to box at Newcastle. But after Liverpool, have you heard of him, Jacob? No, you haven't.
Wait, where is he right now?
He's at PSG, I think, or Roma. Where did he go? Didn't he move from PSG to Roma? I'm not sure. But
Yeah.
so many of the great City players, Liverpool players, these system players, we don't hear about them after their stints there, man. Ashik says Carlo is a player's manager. The midfield needs to be recreated. We can't play the same way we played with Luca, Tony, and Casemiro. The midfielders are different now, and we need to adapt. He continues to say system players usually don't do well for us. Real Madrid was never about specific style. Real Madrid has been about fluidity and conforming to the situation. He also says, "Oh my God, this is intense." As Bruce Lee would say,
Yeah,
"Be water, my friend." Water is formless. It conforms to circumstances. So does Real Madrid. Systems are not for Real Madrid. Julian Lopetegui's failure proved it. Yeah. The best thing that Carlo does is his ability to adapt. I just couldn't like we were all watching the same fixtures last year and screaming at our screens, like watching what a team was doing, being dominated game after game after game in the Champions League. You know, like Farouk came on here in the post match and said it was a feeling of relief rather than euphoria. Like I would feel sorry for him, but still he could tell his kids that he got to witness one of the most intense, the most accelerating Champions League campaigns of all time. But I
yeah,
think it's a trade off, bro. It's a trade off. People expect Chua to be like Casemiro right away. Remember, Casemiro built into what he is today. Uh, yeah, through time, I think. Give Chouameni time. Plus, this is the first time he is at a high pressure club. Absolutely. The jump from somewhere like Monaco to Real Madrid is insane. It is a great sense. I miss Casemiro so much, man. We all do. I just remember like how I felt when he left. He also says Chelsea fans will be getting so much hope now that we lost today. Even Elche can give Chelsea a game. Yeah, Chelsea is clueless, but going by tonight, they like yes, they would have been scared shitless, but watching us get dominated for large parts and then beaten, they would take some confidence from it. But yeah, we discussed the equalizer. Let's just talk about the second goal that we scored. Uh, we started the second half off on a very high tempo, Jacob. Um, we had all the right intentions to go out there and take the game to Villarreal. And we rightfully did. We scored the goal. I think Vinicius did
yeah.
an absolute madness, dribbling past 3, 4 guys, like en route to finishing the ball. Just how do you sum up a man who was having one foot out of the door a couple of seasons ago to the player that he is today? In fact, the biggest positive from tonight's performance was Vinicius again. 2 goals away from his tally from the 21-22 season in April, with at least a good like 10 games to go if we do well in the Champions League. Like, how do you classify his performance tonight?
Well, we certainly saw a lot of that, right? He was like the probably like my man of the match overall because Asensio did fade out towards the second half.
Yeah, yeah.
But Vinny didn't, man. Vinny didn't. He just kept going and going, and we did see countless opportunities. Like, who is Juan Foyth, man? We were all like expecting Foyth to like maybe pocket Vinny. That just didn't happen.
Mm,
Vinny is like on a different level right now. No right back can pocket him, and
mhm.
he just for that specific goal, he just dribbled past like he always does. And then the difference was that he was actually able to finish it even after that finish, like he had maybe 3 or 4 opportunities of the same ilk because he got past 3 or 4 men easily, man. Even in with this Villarreal team.
I was a bit disappointed with some of the shot selection that he had after he had so much space. He could have maybe laid it off, or maybe gone for a better low-driven shot. Maybe I don't know. It just felt like missed opportunities, in very promising positions.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not too sure about the laying things back because nobody was in a like really open
I know,
position.
I know. Yeah,
Villarreal was marking all of our players in the box really well, but with the shot selection, even Ashik was saying in the comments, in the watch-alongs, because Vinicius just doesn't shoot with his left, man. Uh, If he learns how to do that and he learns to be more unpredictable with his shot, keepers have no chance. And that is like the defining difference between him and Mbappe right now
I
with
think it's
finishing.
one step at a time.
Yeah,
Fortunately or unfortunately with Vinicius, because if you go back to a couple of seasons before, he didn't have any sort of composure or calmness to actually know what to do in the heat of the moment. But last season, he seemed to get a hang of it. This
yeah.
season, he has taken that to another level. Can we say that, Jacob? Can we finally say
He's
in April that he has taken another level to his finishing Arsenal?
heck yeah, man. And especially with you have to consider that he's probably going to hit the 50 goal mark with goal
Mm,
contributions this season. So the
mm,
man has same number of goals as he has assists, man. That's insane, and
mm,
you can't even like that is not counting all of the penalties he has won. So
mm.
he has been like
Yeah,
our most influential player. Like when Benzema has
this
waned,
season.
like yeah, Vinny has come to the fore.
Unless Benzema has back to back to back to back to back hat tricks, in the lead up to the Champions League final, fingers crossed, inshallah. Unless he does that, Vinicius probably is player of the season so far. No,
Yeah,
hands down.
hands
and
down.
and like and we used to criticize, I specifically, me, I need to hold my hands up and say that yes, all I wanted is this Vinicius to be less antsy, to be less irritated, to be less focused on fighting refs, fighting fullbacks, fighting center backs. Instead, speaking with your foot, speaking with how you actually navigate a game. There'll be phases of the game where you wouldn't have a sniff. It happens to the very, very best. Cristiano didn't waltz through 25 players week in, week out. He didn't. He didn't. He just chose his moments. And Vinicius right now is picking his moments.
Yeah.
And all I can ask him is to keep doing the same thing. Because there is a player in there that has the potential to win the Ballon d'Or, that has the potential to win the Pichichi even. It's
Okay.
so fucking mad that I can say that.
Okay. Let's say like Sunil,
Yeah.
Vinicius puts in the same performances. He gets maybe a goal or at least an assist every game in the Champions League,
Mm,
and we end up winning
mm,
the Champions League. Do you feel
mm.
like he's a good shot for the Ballon d'Or this season?
Hands down, hands down. Unless the Messi bandwagon is still in full effect.
Yeah.
If it's not there in full effect, I honestly think that Vinicius has, like what you described, a goal a game or an assist a game last few matches of the Champions League. Like obviously he should be in the running for the Ballon d'Or.
Yeah.
Like
I
I
mean,
was surprised that he was what, sixth or something last year. Was he sixth out of the top three? Right, he was in the
he
top
was
three.
not. Yeah. He was
Yeah,
out of
so
the
he was
top five
sixth.
as well. Yeah.
Yeah, so sixth or something. So I was very disappointed that it was sixth. But like showing last year's consistency would actually maybe give him a better shot. But I'm so happy that like his efforts are actually finally bearing fruit, man. He needed that. We as a team needed that, and I hope like he can replicate that on Wednesday as well. Phenomenal stuff, phenomenal stuff. He nutmegs I said Mandi on the way
Yeah.
to the goal, right? He
Heck yeah.
nutmegs them. He nutmegs them mid dribble. So satisfying to watch. So satisfying to watch. It's an absolute pleasure, man. Vinicius. All I needed, again, I repeat, all I needed was this man to actually keep his head down, do the business on the pitch, and he's making me shut up, man. Honestly, I have to bow down to the king at this moment in time. It is Vinicius. It is Vinicius Junior. Um, he is really, really setting the standard, setting the tone. Um, but yeah, man, when he scored that goal, it was pure hysteria. We all went loco. Everybody was actually enjoying that moment. But it didn't take long to bring us back down to earth. Describe why. Well, actually, we kind of laid out the reason why Nacho was, in two minds and kind of cold um, when facing Chukwueze. But how can you let a man do that again and then again? Walk us through the second goal because Chukwueze gets the time he needs, puts the ball into the box. It is, I think, it is slightly to the left of Parejo,
Yeah.
and then Morales attempts a shot which comes off Vasquez's arm or shoulder. I'm not sure, and then he taps in the rebound. There is a check for offside, but it's an eventual goal.
Yeah.
Again, it's a goal that could have been prevented, Jacob. Right?
The whole sequence of play was so embarrassing, man, for the back line. Because
Mm,
these like mediocre strikers, they're like taking multiple touches inside the box before getting a shot through on goal. What was
mm.
Rudiger doing? What was like anyone from the midfield doing? Because at that point, I feel like we had our three at the center midfield, and we still conceded a goal. So nobody was helping Nacho covering him. Like we know how Chukwueze is on the ball, like we can probably expect him to at least make a cutback or something, even if he doesn't dribble past Nacho. So he just got no support. The defense was bad. The center backs were not marking people properly. It was just all around embarrassment for the back line.
Hmm. I don't know, man. Like the chat, like there is like 15 out of you over here, right? Like, please, can you, like, I'm not a tactical analyst, right? Jacob knows much more tactic wise than me, hands down. Yeah, like he's much more well versed in tactics than me. But I want to ask the chat. Yes, Nacho was at fault for maybe all three of the goals. He should have done way better. We expect so much from Nacho. We know Nacho is so far better a defender than what he was showing tonight. But can you guys tell me, please, is Rudiger to be actually of some blame? In my opinion, he is, because he is the odd man out. Whenever he is involved in the back line, we look so much more disoriented, so much more um convoluted. I don't know. I'm looking for adjectives because this man just makes me go speechless sometimes. Because it needn't be directly a fault of Rudiger for us to be completely shambolic at the back. Do you guys think that Rudiger actually has a role in this whole mess at times? Because I genuinely feel like he does. Sometimes I feel like it might be harsh. Like I don't know, man. Rudiger is such a weird case. Jacob, like, can you enlighten us? Also, 15 out of you in the chat. Don't forget to smash the like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Go on, Jacob. Rudiger.
I don't even want to get into that. I mean, it sounds like a personal attack when but the eye test is there for everyone to see. Our defense just looks so much more calmer when it's Militao and Alaba who are like the center back pairing. We just play out from the back better. Did we actually see anything coming out of the back today? No, man, no. It was all punting
Mm.
the ball up to Vinny or to Rodrigo and then hoping something happens. We just don't do that. And even on defense, we just looked in a disarray. People don't know whether they should press the opposition or just to stay back. In the end, we just stayed back, and then they just let things happen to us, basically.
This is a very concerning tweet. I don't know how trustworthy Gerard Romero is, but he said there are two players who are fighting in the bus area of the Bernabeu. Who do you think those two players were? I think it's Rodiga and Militao, maybe, you know.
Militao,
He-
maybe Nacho,
yeah,
man, maybe Nacho.
maybe Nacho. I don't know. Yeah, Ancelotti was saying it has been difficult for us to recover the ball. The key has been that we were not balanced. It's the reason why we conceded 3 goals.
Balance.
Do you think that he refers balance to the midfield?
Villarreal's man, like yeah. I feel like it's the midfield that was wrong today, but then I feel like he also had no choice. We just had to give rest to all of our starters.
See, again, this man comes out and he says, like, when he used to say stuff like this, I used to laugh at him. I used to literally laugh reading that. Remember, we used to come over here for some post matches, and when Carlos said, we played really well, we used to think, oh, this guy is insane. He's
Yep.
basically covering his own ass. But he actually came out and said, we'll be at our best on Wednesday. And I completely believe him. Completely has to believe him at this point. Um, that is the great says Sunil and Jacob. Would you guys take someone like a Marcus, not Marcus Thuram, I think his brother, Catherine Thuram as a backup? Oh, Marcus Thuram as a backup striker. He was talking about the older brother.
Hmm.
Do you rate Marcus Thuram, Jacob?
Well, yeah, man. Me and Farooq were also discussing about this. Feel like Dennis, you asked the same question even then, uh, even in the preview. But then, yeah, the thing is, these guys, he's French. He has played with Benzema before, so he's going to be like the
Oh,
perfect, right?
look what Ashik said.
It was Fede. Oh, wow.
I don't know. Oh, yes. I'm actually reading the. Oh my God.
But
Fede to Bayana
which,
after the game. Tell me what you told me on the pitch about my son. So
oh,
things
wow.
got heated. Alvade punched Bayern in the face. He was on his phone and didn't expect it. Shit. Police have been informed about Valverde punching Bayern. Investigation is ongoing. He might be banned. Might be banned. I don't know if the ban. I don't know if the ban would go outside La Liga. Would it go outside La Liga?
I'm not even concerned about that, man. Like this is basically aggravated assault, right? It's just assault if it's coming
I know
outside
it's
of the football
aggravated
pitch.
assault, but fuck Bayana, man. I don't give two fucks about Bayana. He spoke shit about his son. So if I was in his position, I would do the same thing. Like I'm not promoting violence or assaulting someone, but you don't talk shit about your son. You don't.
Yeah.
That's basically pussy behavior, bro. Breaking. Villarreal apparently have a video of Valverde punching Bayana. Then Valverde waited for Villarreal player Bayern at the bus area and attacked him in the face after the game. It's almost like the
Why?
Mourinho meme.
But
You've seen the Mourinho meme, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. But why, bro? Like, why couldn't like any other player step in and then calm Fede down? Like, this is not the
Maybe
way
he
to.
he just took his stuff, took his bag, his toilet bag, and ran to get there first and get it
Yeah.
done. Maybe. Shit, that was insane. Okay, back to some of our quotes from the game.
Hmm.
And yeah, I'm just completely thrown off by this, man. I didn't expect something like this to break. This wasn't something I saw happening, but
Did you see Fede pissed off like in the midst of the game? Like, I didn't notice anything.
I
But
couldn't notice because we were having the watch along as well, right? So
yeah,
mm,
wow.
yeah, Ashik says, son, anyone talks shit about my niece or my nephew, I'll do the same. Yeah, man, like if you have stuff to say about someone, you say it to them. You say it to them. Like you saw what Zidane did in in the World Cup final. Nothing beats that. Like he knew he was putting his whole country in jeopardy. He would know that his whole career, irrespective of what he did, would be forever stained because of that one moment. But stuff like that happens. I've been in very similar predicaments. You know,
You
I was
punch
way
people,
younger.
waiting for people.
Obviously,
Oh,
man. Like
wow.
sometimes you just can't think.
Yeah.
Yeah, the more rational people wouldn't do it, but it's just mad. I wouldn't advocate for violence or anything, but it's just understandable if someone talks shit about your son. But the
Yeah.
repercussions, the club has to face it, and I feel in two minds about this. Like I don't give a fuck if he gets banned for like 5 games in La Liga.
Hmm.
But it's the thing about UEFA. Like, what if he gets the ban in Europe as well? That'll be peak. If we miss Fede, I don't think we are even going past Chelsea. Like he is so integral for us. He is so integral.
I mean,
But yeah,
I think
go on.
Sunil,
Oh, check.
you summed up the nature of this podcast like at the start, right? This is just bad timing, man. Like everything, the whole thing. It's all shit.
the watch along, the watch along had absolutely everything to do with this, right? Like everything, absolutely everything to do with this. Um, right. Let's go back to the goal, man. So, did we discuss the goal? I'm completely thrown off. Did we
I mean,
discuss the
yeah,
second goal we conceded?
we did say that oh, like Nacho didn't do anything, so did none of the defense. They got a bunch of touches in
Yeah.
the box, and finally, like the ball just dropped to them, and like they were gonna score either
Mm,
way, and then
yeah. If we let the pin ball itself in the box, we are doomed to concede. Like I don't know what other outcome we could have expected. But the third goal was an absolute banger. There's no two ways about it. But even then, I feel like, see, that's the thing. Like yes, you can stand up and applaud greatness, stand up and applaud great goals. Obviously, we are all fans of the game. We should do that. But as a fan, from a very selfish perspective, from a Real Madrid perspective, Nacho, Lucas Vasquez, Chouameni, I don't know who else was there. They all afforded Chukwueze uh, the luxury to take at least a couple of steps more than he had to. I know, like you said in the watch along, if you were a defender, you would be a little more conservative, not to concede a foul right outside the box, or maybe like you never know if he takes a touch inside and then you pull
Yeah,
out your leg, it's a direct pen. There is no question about it. So it's walking on thin ice. It is basically it's a balancing act. So I understand that, but come on, man, Nacho again. How does he
bro, man.
get how does he get skinned 3 times by the same player? I don't understand. He pocketed Salah for the
Yeah.
entire round of 16.
At this
I don't
at this
understand.
point, I mean, I feel like Chukwueze is probably a better dribbler than Salah, man, at this point.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah. That really makes me wonder.
yeah. But
Salah
the
has
thing
dropped
is,
off. Mm.
yeah, the thing is like, okay, Nacho didn't put in the tackle, like he was right up there with him, but he just didn't receive any sort of support again in the midfield. We shouldn't have let that's called zone 14, right? The place where Casemiro used to thrive. Casemiro wouldn't have allowed that, and we're missing that, that player who can do that for us.
The guy who absolutely breaks up stuff. Like we miss it. We really really miss it. Like I just hope Chouameni comes in good, man, because we need it. We need it.
Yeah,
Ashik says Ashik says all power to Fede. It's never right, especially after what Fede has been through. Yeah, yeah, yeah. He has been through a very bad 6 months or so. He says you never bring family into trash talking. Family off limits. Facts. He
yeah,
says again, love the watch along and hope you have more. Yeah, there's one for the Chelsea one as well. I hope the end result is different. That's one thing I would pray for. Let's just get into some of the comments from Carlo. He has been very honest. He says very few players kept a high level during the game. He doesn't shy
mm,
away from speaking facts. He said, we have lowered our level in La Liga this season. We have not played at the level we expected. Right. We have 10 games left and we'll try to close La Liga with as many points as possible. So, from that itself, I think it's pretty evident that he has given up on the league as well.
yeah.
Um, Same level of the Clasico against Chelsea. It can be, yes, I rotated tonight because El Clasico demanded a lot from us physically and mentally. I thought that refreshing the team would be a good solution. It didn't go well.
Mm.
Mm. Chouameni, all players have had a lower level than normal. It has been difficult to find the motivation. I think the guy asking the question was kind of specifically putting it on Chouameni.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, did
he
you
also,
specifically say like the players weren't motivated enough? Yeah.
yeah,
Mm.
he said they weren't at the level. Rotating has not been a good idea. We didn't
Mm.
deserve to lose tonight. We created many chances. We did create many chances. Like if a couple of those Vinicius shots goes
Yeah,
in,
man. Yeah, it's not like we created. Vinicius created a few chances, man.
mm, but as a manager,
Yeah.
from his perspective, it's we know the truth. We know the truth. Um, right. We play Chelsea on Wednesday. We haven't yet confirmed a preview yet, so but we'll hopefully be looking to rope in a Chelsea fan. Trust me, it's harder to get a Chelsea fan in than a reputed journalist from ESPN. It is the way of life. Premier League fans are hard to get. Um, right. Anything else to add, man? Anything else to add from this game? Honestly, we could have done so much better. The subs that came in, Fede, he had a couple of very good defensive actions. I feel like he tried to progress the ball, carry the ball from deep, like he excels at. Like he tried to do that a bit. But overall, after the Vinicius goal and after we conceded the third knockout blow from Villarreal, we didn't create like a solid, clear chance, right? Like we struggled.
We struggled, yeah. But I don't know, man. I just want to stop talking about this game. But I do have like one major question, right? What do you think like happened in the dressing room after this game? There are two possibilities. One,
Mm.
Carlos says, "Hey, this is like a big wake-up call, like you said. We need to like analyze what went wrong here, and then just get the job done against Chelsea. We need to be very, very careful." The other option
Mm.
is Carlos is going to say, "Look, guys, things just didn't work out for us. We weren't really motivated. Just forget this, fuck it, and let's move on."
I think it's the second one. I think
Mm,
that's what Carlo would do.
yeah,
Over the years, what I've seen of Carlo, what you have seen of Carlo, what we all know of Carlo, I think that the second one is a much more likelier possibility because we can't really bash the players for tonight, can we? Like it's a much better performance than Mallorca,
yeah,
than the Sociedad 0-0. I think we can take plenty of positives from tonight, but overall, we didn't have the cutting edge. We didn't have the tools required to bury the game. We were in front for two times.
yeah.
Two times we were ahead, but we just couldn't put the game to came to bed. Unfortunately, it happens, man. It happens to the best of teams. I'll tell you, Barcelona. Apart from Barcelona, every other team would swap their positions. Maybe apart from Arsenal and Barcelona, every other team would swap their position for us. You know, Champions League quarterfinals, finalists in the cup. Bayern got knocked out, by Freiburg. If you remember, like
Yeah.
4 days ago. So I'll tell you, man, we are in a very good position. But yeah, the league it doesn't. A Villarreal delegate on Twitter, Fede Valverde, a thug and a coward.
Wow.
Fede Valverde asked Baena to repeat what he said about his son and attacked him. Police were present, apparently.
Mm.
I don't think it'll be that bad, man. Like it is a punch. It doesn't. I mean,
Huh.
do you think there'll be
We
like a
don't know
10-game
like
ban?
is the video leaked or out yet? Do we know the damage to Baena? Like if there is no damage, like I don't think there's gonna be any legal repercussions.
Yeah, but, like looking by the nature of the tweets, I don't think even any blood was spilled. If
Mm.
that's the case, then like you said, it wouldn't be apart from maybe a warning or maybe like a couple of matches ban at the worst. I don't think it does anything
Bro, like we've seen
beyond that.
guys get
Mm.
banned for longer, right? Like I wouldn't be surprised if he got like a 3 month ban in La Liga, but let's just hope like it stays in La Liga, like you said.
3-1 ban, really?
Yeah,
He didn't
I've
he
seen,
didn't bite the guy.
bro, like you remember Cristiano like just nudging the referee along? Like how many matches ban did he get? Like a couple of
Yeah,
months?
yeah. He didn't get a couple of months ban. He got like a 3-match
Five.
ban or something. No,
So it was a 5 match
five.
ban, but yeah, it was 5 match ban. And that was in a Super Copa. And let's just hope, this doesn't carry along
Yeah,
elsewhere.
now it kind of makes me scary. I was trying to kind of console myself and just downplay the situation, but
Mm.
yeah, now it just makes me question. Yeah. Ashik says, and as per as signing Goes, I'd rather be in this position and yet financially solvent than have to sell our team to sign players.
Yeah.
I think he's referring to Barcelona. I don't know, but yeah, I guess it is what it is, man. Plenty of plenty of bad omen, after the watch along. But we are going to set that right on Wednesday. The Champions League anthem is going to blare. The watch along is going to be different. The post match definitely is going to be different because we are going to turn up, and we better turn up. We better, uh, show what we got because it's high time. If we don't get past this Chelsea side, I don't know. I'll be lost for words. Any final thoughts, Jacob, before we go?
Yeah, man, let's just forget this. Let's look forward. We're gonna win now. We're gonna win. I can feel it.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel the same. Hope Valverde doesn't get involved in any more madness, and this results in a very lenient tap on the hand. That's all that I hope for. But yeah, smash the like if you haven't already. Subscribe to the thing. Massive love for all the support on our audio platforms. Over 650 followers at this moment in time, over 19k plays as well. Really, really humbled. Don't forget to check out our partners, Real Madrid Committee, on Instagram. The link is in the description below. Don't forget to turn on your notification bells on so that when we schedule a live, you guys know right away. Look out for the preview, hopefully Tuesday or Wednesday. Sorry, Monday or Tuesday. And also the watch along and the post match. We have so much stuff planned. We are trying our best to kind of make ends meet, but it is what it is. Until next time, Ala Madrid.
Hala Madrid.